We begin, as always, at the beginning. Where were you born?
Manhattan.
Tell us about Robert Downey Sr.
Dadder?
Dadder. Your father was a filmmaker.
He was a filmmaker, yeah.
What films, for example?
Well, Putney Swope was one that he was really well known for. To me, it was just so strange being raised in this family where doing kind of underground maverick films was the norm. It was just conducive to believing that this is what you're supposed to do. You were supposed to try to push the envelope, and it was very natural to have no interaction with, you know, mainstream anything.
And what was that relationship like? Did you look up to him? Did you idolize him? I know he was also a boxer at some point. Was he a powerful presence?
It's funny. Joe Wright, the director, told me he was doing this. I think it was a TV series, and there was a guy who had to play a British king, and he said, "I just don't know how to get the authority of this character. I'm not really grasping it." And so what Joe did was during the rehearsals, whenever this actor walked in, he had everybody in the rehearsal room stand up, and they wouldn't sit down until he did. So it invested him with the authority. And what I remember is growing up around someone to whom many others were very reverent, particularly around the time that his film Putney Swope came out, and it really was kind of a mind-blowing satire of advertising and racism and power and corruption and all that stuff. It's literally just brilliant. So that's what I heard a lot. My dad was, you know, brilliant. My dad was this and that, and then I remember one day I think it was really hip in the Village back then. Like they got circa 1968 or 9, people were getting like T-shirts with big decals on them, and someone got him a blue shirt with a big Superman logo on it. And in the loft we lived in, there was like this king's throne, and I think once I remember seeing him sitting in the throne wearing the Superman T-shirt, and then I saw it on TV. And anyway, but I think everybody's dad is their first projection of you know, that archetype of power and virility, and you know.
Was he a gentle guy to you? I mean, did you have or was he working a lot and?
Working a lot, very kind of post-mid-century guy. You know what I mean? More James Dean than James Franco. You know. Both great individuals, different centuries. But what I remember is, it's funny too, because you know I have a 9-year-old son, and now I have just a baby. And you look back in the context of, I think we always do, and I know you got kids and you love them and it's great, and that's kind of the whole point. But I find myself looking back at my parents in the context of my parenting, and I realize that as nutso and gonzo as that emerging generation was, and obviously there's casualties littering the seascape of that generation. But I remember an incredibly kind of thoughtful and considerate and affectionate and kind of attentive dad. Now, I choose to remember that because unconsciously there's these long swaths of time when you have a dad that's in the military, or you have a dad that works a 9 to 5 and goes on business trips. My dad was almost always home, or if he was on the set, I was probably heading there if I wasn't there already.